Hindu scriptures speak of the first beings on earth as divine etheric beings who could assume physical form and create offspring at will. And it is written that these beings created the first man and woman in physical form. We know them as Adam and Eve. So, this story is found in many cultures. Many of the channeled and sacred texts speak about the Adam Kadmon, which is another name for Adam, as the primordial man and the first being to emerge from the infinite Godhead. The keys of Enoch describe the Adam Kadmon, or Adamic man, as the spiritual physical creation of man that we once were, and that the fall resulted in the loss of our spiritual power and oneness with the Father. So both the Urantia book and the Keys of Enoch speak of the modern man as a sub-Adamic race, and the previous uncontaminated version of man as the Adam Kadmon. So we were once a very pure Christ-like race, is what they're saying to us. And the Keys of Enoch elaborates that this fall, that some of the lords of light rebelled and sought to condemn the Adamic creation to destruction and interfered with the next models of the Adamic humanity for the planet. So in other words, we originally, the Christ-like race that we were, our gene code was contaminated by these fallen gods. I know it sounds like scary stuff and like science fiction, but bear with me. That was the feelings I was getting when I was reading this. I'm like, no, this can't be right. But the Keys of Enoch says that the Elohim lords first attempted to elevate man to a higher intelligence, but this ended in disaster when the people of light, which were us, the Adamic race, intermarried with the fallen offspring of the lords of light. And it ended in failure due to the mixing of genetic codes and resulted in warfare and destruction. It says that the Council of the Lords of Light had to intervene to prevent the corrupt species from endangering and interbreeding further with the population on the planet. So, to prevent this from occurring, goes on, it says they confused the language of Earth so that man would no longer have access to the higher records, nor the ability to build a space needle to communicate with the gods. And the Urantia book says that the Earth was quarantined and prevented from achieving a universal language, and that the planet was isolated and suspended of all interplanetary communication with the higher councils of light. So, you can see they're all saying something really, really similar. Let's look at what Edgar Cayce says about it. Edgar Cayce says that the Earth was first inhabited over 10.5 million years ago by asexual spiritual entities who gradually took physical form and took some time to split into males and females. He said that through the use of his creative powers for selfish purposes, man became entangled in matter to such an extent that he nearly forgot his divine origin and nature. Now, the great Paramahansa Yogananda, he said in his Second Coming, his book Second Coming, that the first beings were in alignment with divine consciousness, and they began to identify with sense consciousness and decided to explore a more material form and physical dimension. He says that they actually grew sexual appendages so they could partake in the animal form of procreation. And that's what he calls the fall. So, basically, they're all saying the same thing. All of these great teachings are telling us that we were spiritual beings and we descended from higher states of consciousness as androgynous beings, or gods, during an involution into matter. And as we separated from the higher realms, we gradually lost consciousness of them, dividing into male and female, partaking in sexual procreation, and forgetting our divine heritage. In other words, the angels, the gods, these beings that came here, they are us. We are them. That's the conclusion here that I came to. And now there's two possibilities. Not only are we the offspring of these gods genetically, but we could also be, our souls could actually be, some of us could be incarnated. Gods that were banished and incarnated to live human incarnations. That's kind of like losing your immortality is what that would be.